Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher. Hello. Hi. Guys, thank you so much for letting me take the time that I needed to do some grieving. It was a very important break that I took. Not necessarily from the podcast, but definitely the podcast and definitely the radio show. I took about a month off because my dad died, and first, let me just say, I took about a month off. I really felt like I could have gone back to a job, like maybe 2 weeks after, because like if it was a regular job, if I was just emailing Pam about, 8.5 by 11 reams of paper and so-and-so from HR needed a spreadsheet, like that'd be different. But because we have to do so much focusing on the news and I have to be funny and maybe give opinions on things that make me very frustrated, it felt extremely overwhelming to have to think about what was going on in the news. And there was and there seems to always be so much going on in the news. So I could not handle it. And I appreciate having the time off. So I wanted to come on and talk about what happened with my dad and sort of tell my story. I'm sure I'm in a club with many people listening of people who have lost their dad. I've talked about my dad on the show a lot, my frustrations with him, the sort of missing pieces from our relationship. And, it's difficult because, he's gone. He was gone. The moment he was gone, one of the things that came to me was I don't get a chance to do it now. I don't get a chance to repair it. I don't get a chance to sort of tell him how I really feel, and not in the like, oh, I better tell him off. He needs to know how I feel. More like communicate with him. The problem is that I was not ready to communicate with him. After he died, I would say like 3 weeks after, I was able to sort of get a hold or wrap my head around the relationship that I had with him before he died and how it was difficult for me. I wasn't in a place to be able to have the conversation that I wanted to have with him because of the perspective that I gained after he died. And I couldn't gain that perspective without him dying or without a lot more time passing. And I didn't have the time option anymore, and he died. So I was able to gain the perspective after he passed. And I was feeling really bad about that. And I still feel really bad about that. But he, it's just the way it went down. It's just how it happened. I feel really sad that I don't get to have that he died without him knowing how I feel now. And that's what I'm talking about, is the perspective that you can't get until someone's gone. And then you're just left with, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. But you can't do this or that without gaining the perspective. And all right, I'm just repeating myself. Okay. So anyway, so I wanted to, I guess, say what happened if you're interested. He and my mom were on vacation at Myrtle Beach. And the first night that they were there, my dad had a heart attack. They took him to the hospital. It was 98% blockage. They put a stent. This is his second stent. He got a stent back in his 40s, maybe early 50s. I'm not sure. But when I was a kid, he got a stent. Not a kid. Nah. It was after high school. So it was probably the year 2000 or something. Maybe 2001. He got a stent back then. This is his second stent. He responded really well. They said that he had another blockage that needed attention, but because they were on vacation in Myrtle Beach, that it was fine. Oh, and they had an appointment with their cardiologist when they came home, like a week after they got home. So they said, based on how your body's reacting, go ahead and just, recover from the stent while you're on vacation and deal with it when you get home. So that's what they did. They went back to the condo. My dad didn't really go to the beach. He doesn't go to the beach anyway, but he was just there to support my mom going to the beach because she loves the beach. So, he just took it easy. Recovering from a stent is not that big of a deal. It's not very hard to recover from. So there was that. He was having shoulder pain, upper right chest, shoulder, maybe not right, wherever, chest, shoulder pain. And only in hindsight did I look that up and say that might have been the blockage, the other blockage. But, they just didn't think about it then. So then it's the last day, the last morning that they're there. They're leaving that morning to get on a flight. And my dad wakes up with really severe chest pain. And wasn't able, he has nitroglycerin, but it was packed away because they were leaving that early that morning to catch an early flight. So my mom had packed the car, and moms, she packed it in such a way that she didn't remember where it was or how, it wasn't like a quick, unzip this exact pocket from the luggage and grab it out of there. It's who knows where it is. So she didn't feel confident that she could get it in time. So they called the ambulance again, go to the hospital. So my mom calls me. It's real early in the morning, might be 4 or something. And she calls and says that Dad is having another heart attack. And I was like, Jesus. She was like, yeah, okay. I'm going to go to the hospital. She's thinking that they're going to have to do the bypass in Myrtle Beach since this is happening, and that she's going to have to spend weeks recovering there, in Myrtle Beach, which is strange. And I felt real weird. I got up and I took a shower, because sometimes I just like to take a shower for comfort. And it was a comfort shower. I took the shower. I was thinking, it was interesting. I was thinking while I was in the shower that, hey, I'm not religious, but, I guess to the universe, or if anyone's listening, I said something like, my Aunt Eileen and my Aunt Marge are also gone, and they've known him for a long time, since my mom and he were dating. They've been married for 47 years. So I think they were dating for not very long, 6 months, no, 9 months. So they've known him for a long time. And I thought if something happens, I hope that they are there to help take care of him, sort of. And then, I lay back down, and my mom calls me, and she just says that he died. And I was in, disbelief. What? He died. And I think I said, oh no. And I was just there I don't even know what happened, I was just on the phone with my mom. I think she told me what happened. She said that, they got him in the ambulance, and on the way to the hospital that he coded, which means his heart stopped, and they worked on him. I think they had worked, they were, giving him CPR. They put a machine on him that I don't know what it looks like, but my mom said it's this thing around your chest, and it uses a mechanism to, pump the heart, to push the heart properly, instead of it being human, which could have human error. And they said she said they were doing that for 45 minutes. And my mom saw, once she got there, and they said, we can go for another 15 minutes if you'd like. And she asked, if he does come back, would there be a quality of life since his heart has been stopped for so long and his brain, is depleted or is deprived of oxygen, and they said, no, not really, and he's 77. And so she said they could stop. And so they stopped, which was smart. But one of the things that I keep replaying in my mind is him being alone in the ambulance. He didn't have anybody with him that loved him. And I'm sure he was in so much pain. So, and I thought, like, did he think of me? Did he think of Mom? Did he think of Brock? I don't know. Brock is my half brother from his first marriage. His son from his first marriage. But I just hate that he was alone. So my mom said that they took that machine off of him. They had intubated him, so that was still in his mouth. But they gave her time with him, and she just, like, talked to him. And she said she sort of laid on his chest, sort of, and I think she apologized. And, which I did too. She let me hold the phone up, which was, it was like, do you want to sit? Oh, I think because at some point, they needed her out of the room at some point. So, she said, before we hang up, you should say if you have anything to say. But that was a little bit later. I already had like my fallout. So after she told me that, and I don't know how we got off the phone together. I don't know how that was, but I hung up the phone and I just, like, I don't know, I just wailed, I think is the best way to say what happened. I thought about it later and was shocked, that that was what it sounded like to be so sad. Yeah, and then thankfully, Joe was here with me and he just held me. Said things to him, the first couple things that came to mind and that I thought of. I feel like those are kind of private, so I'm going to keep those. But yeah, and then I got back on the phone with her and we just were there talking. She told me about what he looks like right now. Since he was intubated, he had that plastic thing in his mouth, so his mouth was open like that, and his eyes were open a little bit, and he was gone. And she felt like he wasn't there, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But then the whole thing of like, holy shit, Mom, you're alone now. You are alone now, and not only are you alone, you have no one there to help you go through this. You're in fucking Myrtle Beach. And I'm in Maryland. You live in Maryland. You're so far away. How are we going to... So the first thing was like, we were going to try and get to her. And then we were like, we figured out as the day went on. Did you know you could like use the post office to send cremated remains? I did not know that. And that's what we found out. So we figured out how to get her home without Dad. Arranged for the cremation to happen in Myrtle Beach and for it to be sent back home. And he just like came to the door. And my mom put him on his chair, which is like so sweet and so silly. And it was really just feeling every day not normal, just did not feel normal for a bunch of days. It's like nothing new came to me, or I mean, I guess some calmness came over me at some point where I was able to, think about my relationship with him and sort of balance that out a little bit for the brain, in my brain. But yeah, it was a lot of just, I was so anxious. I was so anxious, like a pit in my stomach every day. And I would leave the house and I would be overwhelmed with like Target. And people asking like, hi, how are you doing? And it's like, oh, my dad died. So not great. This is my first time out of the house, so I'm doing great. And then there'd be days where like you kind of are okay. And you're like, oh, am I okay? And then you're absolutely not okay. Like I see, I would see, I think Joe had written something down on a notepad and I was looking at it and I thought about his handwriting and I thought about my dad's handwriting and I got really upset. So it's stuff like that, that I guess is unexpected. So yeah. And then thankfully, the radio station was so generous with how much time I was able to take. I think legally I took 2 weeks off. And then officially it was 2 weeks. Unofficially it was 4. And like I said, if it was a normal job, I think I would have been back at work. I would have pushed myself. I went back to trivia, I think it might have been the second week, but I started trivia and I didn't start it. I went back to it and then I might have skipped 2 weeks. I might have gone back at the third week. I think it was the third week. And when I went back, people knew, and I don't know how they knew because I don't know how they knew, but they knew what had happened and they were so kind to me, which made me so sad. And so, I'm crying before trivia. But then, throughout the weeks, we planned a celebration of his life. And that was last Saturday on the 11th. It's the 14th today. We had it at a brewery, which was really fun. We wanted to have something very relaxed, no schedule, we got Mission Barbecue because my dad did love barbecue. He would have preferred it from a hole in the wall or something because he thinks like barbecue places and Chinese places are best when they come from like a place that looks like a shack. And I agree. So yeah, we had it at this brewery. I made a playlist of music that he liked. We had on the screen, instead of it being, a photo like a slideshow of pictures, we played Andy Griffith because my dad loved Andy Griffith. He just watched constant TV. We were going to have like different shows on, but then it just was easier just to keep Andy Griffith on. My mom put a poster board of pictures up and on some tables and some memorabilia of his, like his jewelry and his dream catchers. Remember, I think I told you my dad thought he was a Native American. And I don't know, maybe he was, but I don't think so. So it was like a little museum up there. Like, yeah, it was cool. I brought my speaker and my equipment that I do for trivia, and I planned some karaoke, and it was good because then I was able to do my sort of speech for him, and my mom did her speech for him. We also had anybody that wanted to come up and say anything like words or memories or things like that. And it was cool to see so many people that I haven't seen in so long. And then, my family that came to support us. And it's awful, but funerals really are great in that way. It brings so many people to you, and You get to see them and love them. And I got calls from my cousins that I'm very close with. And even one of my cousins that I haven't been very close with my whole life. She's my oldest cousin, and I was the baby for a long time in the family. So she was like this unattainable being that was, out of the house and in college when I was just a kid. And she called me and we talked for like an hour. And that just felt really special. So, yeah. That's what's happened now. My mom and I have gotten, well, we already had done a ton of work to get closer and have a real, true, honest relationship, just like I'm trying to do with my life. She was like, you can't leave me behind. I'm coming with you on this journey. And she has delivered. She's doing great with that. She's not like great at it, like, but she's working really hard. She's doing what she can, and I'm really proud of her. And that's what's made our relationship so much better. And then when Dad died, because I'm an only child, it was just me and her. She only had me. I mean, I had support and she had support, but I only had her to know, what this was like. And I am so grateful. And I feel like now when we talk to each other, there's like a different goodbye that we're doing. It's not just like, okay, love you, bye. It's like, I love you so much. It's like a real earnestness that has appeared. And I'm really grateful for what we have and what we've built, because we both need it. So that's how it all went down. And now, the celebration is over. People that were in town left. My sweet Misi came to see me. My friend Michelle, who runs the hot sauce company, she came and we got to be with each other, and I got to kind of pretend a little bit like I wasn't grieving and just be like, oh, my friend's in town. God, baby, shut up. Baby! Sorry. Even on the fucking podcast, I can't get away. So anyway, now it's just kind of making sure that my mom is okay. She has to learn how to be alone. She went from this is how she puts it, she went from her father's house to her husband's house. I think she was 21 or maybe 20 when they got together. I think she was married at 21 and then had me at 25, I think. So yeah, she's never been alone. So she's learning how to do that. I had to learn how to do that. I went from boyfriend to boyfriend to boyfriend, like a real genius. And so yeah, then when I was finally alone, after everything, after the divorce, after, Greg, and then I was dating Alex, and then I was alone. And, it took a lot. So anyway, I had to learn how to be alone. Sorry, I didn't know. My brain started. Actually, my brain started being embarrassed, I think. But what can it's the path I took. It's fine. So yeah, she has to learn that now. And she has to go through the struggles that come along with that. And I hope they're not too hard, but she has to do it. And she can. She just has to get through it. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to tell you and share with you how I'm doing now and what had happened so that you guys can know. I'm doing a lot better. After the celebration, it really felt like, okay, got it. We did it. Now I'm going to join the world that's turning. Before it was turning a little bit and I was dipping my toe in, but now I'm back. I'm back in the world. And really quickly, and maybe some people have this experience too, I really feel a ton of clarity now that he's gone. Not like, oh, I'm so glad he's gone so I could get this clarity. More like a lot of my struggles through my life have been surrounded, or have been under the umbrella of my relationship with men. I don't expect a whole lot from them. I hold them to different standards as far as what I allow from them. And I feel like that is no longer a part of me. Old ways that were there before, I feel like if I'm not going to change them now, when? It's time. Anything that I want to change could be on the table. It just feels like anything could happen. Anything is possible. I feel like there's nothing anchoring me to the past anymore because my mom is growing and changing and moving forward, and I am growing and changing and moving forward, but my dad wasn't. And there were a lot of things about my relationship with men in my life that were attached to that anchor. And now that anchor is gone. So I have a new future, or I have a new sense of what's possible because I'm not being held back emotionally or mentally anymore. And even though it's sad, that he held that place. And that's why I think partly I was mad at him, and annoyed because I needed him to grow with me. I needed him to be a whole person, and he just wasn't able to do it. And then I was not in a place to be able to communicate that with him. So this is where we landed. Guys, thank you so much for listening and supporting us for so many years. I have been through a lot on this show, and I appreciate you very much. So thank you for being here, even during this time when it's like the saddest time. I love you guys. Thanks for listening.